It's interesting when you talk to people who have ALS. The first thing they ask each other is, when were you diagnosed? The second question they ask is, when did your symptoms begin? Because they're usually a year and a half or more apart from when the symptoms begin and when you're diagnosed, because there is no test for ALS. There's no blood test, there's no MRI, there's nothing. It's a process of elimination. So you go through this period of time, and I'll tell you, some people have gone through hell till they got their diagnosis. Maybe because their doctor didn't know about ALS, or the symptoms were masked. 70 years ago, Lou Gehrig was a famous baseball player, and he got ALS. And that's when it first became widely known what ALS was, with Lou Gehrig, a famous baseball player, has it. What happened for me is I was at the gym. I went 3 mornings a week, and it was about August or September of 2010. I was at the gym and I was on the treadmill, which I hated anyway. Maybe that was the whole problem. I shouldn't have been at the gym. I shouldn't have been on the treadmill. I don't know. But anyway, I noticed that my left foot wasn't working. It was what I called a floppy foot. And I mentioned to Trish and my family, I said, oh, look, I've got this floppy foot. Well, I was working at Heald College at the time, and they have a medical program. So there's a lot of medical people there. And I said, look at this foot. They said, oh, that's not a good sign. You better go get that checked. So I went to my general practitioner, who referred me to a sports doctor, who referred me to the spine, back people, who referred me to, and in the meantime, I went to the chiropractor, and then I also went to an acupuncturist. So for a period of about a year and probably a little over a year, I went to different doctors. They thought, oh, it could be a pinched nerve, or it could be this, or it could be that, and so they'd look at the x-rays and they go, well, maybe it could be here, or maybe this is what's causing it. And then I went for, I think it's called an EMG, if I remember right, where they attach it to the little electrodes to your nerves to see what kind of response they get. And, it's one of those things where they're kind of looking at each other like, this isn't good. So then finally I met with a neurologist at UC Davis, Dr. Oscarson, and he did another EMG and said, because it's a process of elimination, he said, this is what you have ALS. So it was from about September of 2010 until I was diagnosed in August of 2011. So I've had it for a little over 2 years. Giving up my independence, letting things go, not being able to garden, you would be surprised at the little things that become so important. I think that has. One day I told Cliff that he frequently runs to Lebu to get a salad for me in the afternoon. That's one of my favorite treats, and he's so gracious about doing that, running my errands for me. But not knowing how long I'll have till I can't chew or swallow a salad, which we take so much for granted. And probably, besides spaghetti being my favorite dinner, steak is probably my next favorite. And so every time I eat steak now, I think, oh, this is good. And we take those things so much for granted, putting on your shoes and socks, having somebody else having to do that for you. And I'm beginning to feel a little bit more claustrophobic, because we didn't realize that this was an issue until we'd taken a trip this summer, and we were in a hotel in the disability room, the handicap room, and we were on the 7th floor. Well, do you know what it's like to go to the elevator and it says, in case of a power failure, use the stairs? That is, and in fact, we went to Chevy's on the river last week, and I wanted to take a picture because I thought this is a great blog, because they had the handicap sign, the blue sign, and then they had, in case of emergency, use the stairs. Really? What do you do with that? So that can make you a little bit uptight if you think about it. I think sometimes, and I have to just work at not thinking about it. I'm practicing all my techniques I would have told you in a retreat. Don't go there. What it's like to drive in the van and be locked down in the back of the van, knowing if we got hit, how am I going to get out? Will the ramp go down? Will who can lift me? Can they get to me? Will they realize that I'm tied down? Or if something happens to Cliff, what do I do? So you have to really, what I've read and what I've experienced is ALS is as much, if not more, a mental game than a physical. You have to work every day is a new challenge. Every day is, okay, what physical thing am I going to have to overcome, but probably even more so, what mental thing am I going to have to overcome? I had written in one of my blogs early on that all my life I've never wanted to be stagnant. That just was, who wants to be around stagnant people? You know, you've always got to think, do, be, go, all kinds of things. And I thought, well, I'm not stagnant. I have many challenges every day to conquer. So ALS is so horrible. Not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, or I'm not going to be able to get out of bed. My oldest grandson, please leave this in here. My oldest grandson, he will hardly even talk to me about it. It's like, okay, that's all. I made some comment. Well, I'm not going to be here forever, you know. Don't go. Just don't go there.
What's your
So
plan for
I'm just really, and I'm not being flippant. I'm thankful every day when I can get out of bed. I'm thankful I can sit here and talk. I'm thankful I have a birthday party to look forward to that will benefit not only me. It is about me, and which I totally love, but that it will benefit ALS. That more people will find out about it. That there'll be more research that's done. So they can find a cure of it. When people haven't seen me for months, and they know I have ALS, they know ALS is a terminal illness. The first thing they say to me is, "Oh, you look so good." They are, 9 times out of 10, people will say that if they haven't seen me a while. "Oh, you look so good." And I will say to Trish or Cliff, whoever I'm with, "Watch, this is what they're going to say," and they almost always say it. Because they think that I'm going to die tomorrow. I think that's what they think. And they, for every reason, I mean, it's not a bad thing. And they're very gracious, and I love that people care. But it's a very cute thing. Personality. I'll come into a room and people will come see me and they'll come in for the hug, which you love. You love hugs. But if they hit the toggle switch, so I have to say, when they're coming for the hug, watch out for the toggle switch, because one of us is going to go and it might hurt you. So I always do that. I have to make sure I see them coming. I quickly turn off my bike so that they don't get run over. Oh, my grandsons, they harass me to death. If I am sitting in my recliner, they will move my wheelchair across the room and say, "Go get it." Or if I happen to be having any kind of, heaven forbid, a sad day, well, the attitude is, well, get over yourself. Cliff and I have been married 43 years, whatever it is, 42 years. Ever since we've been married, on the weekends or wherever we've gone, he's always driven me. If I was off work on the weekends, he'd drive me to get my hair cut, and he'd wait for me, either go get coffee or wait out in the car, take a nap, do his crossword puzzle. If I went shopping, he'd take me to the mall. He'd sit in front of Nordstrom's and do his crossword puzzle, be on his, I love iPhones for him because it keeps him busy. He's a Facebook person. If you want to get his friend, we'll sign you up. So he will wait for me for hours. And he has done this since we've been married. So then when I had to give up driving, people said, "Was that hard for me?" No, Cliff's always driven. And I really think that was part of God's plan. I think it was part of the plan. This is a hard disease, and it's hard for both of us. But it's a gift He can give me. And it's not like, oh, I can't drive anymore, I'm going to try to drive. He's always driven. So it was an easy thing. So He gives me the gift of allowing me the freedom to see my friends and be with my friends and just waiting patiently for me. Well, I cannot say enough good things about the association. I think they would tell you, and other people, ALS patients that I've talked to, you hate admitting that you have ALS. And I, on several occasions, introduced myself by saying, hello, my name is Susan, I have ALS, because that's the first step, is acknowledging it. And I was hesitant to get involved with them because that was acknowledging that I had this horrible disease. But I needed them. I needed some information. We didn't have, when the doctor tells you, well, Susan, you have ALS, and you feel like you've been kicked in the stomach and your head starts spinning and you don't know if you want to throw up or just pass out or die right there on the spot. I mean, all the emotions go through your head. So they say you have, the average person has 2 to 5 years to live. Go home, make your arrangements, go on a trip, have a good time, come back to see us in 3 months. And you walk out the door and you go, what happened? So this is what we did. We went to Tower Cafe. So cried in, well, we don't drink beer, but we would have cried in our beer if we drank beer. But we needed to know what resources were available for us financially, what thoughts they had about that. Did they have people that they work with about finances and about making sure our trust is done and our will? Because these are the things you need to do. You need to prepare, which we all need to do. But we thought, well, we might as well start there because maybe they have more information. So I think it took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And then they, of course, send you all the information and then tell me, they started talking to me about and sending information about the support group that meets once a month. And like most ALS people, I didn't want to go, because why would I want to go see what other people are going through and what I was going to end up, the state I would be in? I was just, I don't want to do that. And a lot of people choose not to. But I'll tell you, it was the best decision that we made. I think Cliff would agree. It was a good decision for many reasons. It's like any other support group. You find people, there's a commonality, and you don't have to explain it. They know when you say, my hand cramped up, and they know that means not far beyond that, you're not going to be able to use your hand. You don't have to explain it, they know it. And so the support group has been awesome. One of the things that they tell you to be careful of is your caregiver can burn out faster than you. So when I go with the other ALS patients for the support group, Cliff goes with other caretakers, we leave exhausted but supported, and we also feel like we encourage others. It's a mixed emotional bag, but I wouldn't miss it. And probably because I feel like maybe I do a little bit of good there, because I am a little bit positive in my attitude. I get that. So I think it kind of helps people. Well, I don't know. Maybe they go, oh, here comes Susan. I don't know. But having the support group. And then the ALS equipment closet has just been phenomenal. It is phenomenal. It is a resource that is just unbelievable. There came a point where I needed, to be personal, a riser for my toilet. I call them. Well, we have some here. Just come borrow it. The ramps getting in and out of my house, you can borrow it. Before I got into my wheelchair, I needed a go chair, and they said, you know what? We have a go chair here. We were on our way. We were getting ready. It was just a week before we were going to take a trip to Montana, because they tell you you've got 2 to 5 years to live, so take a trip. So we thought, okay, we better take a trip. So we were going to drive to Montana, and I went by there and I said, you don't happen to have some type of a little motor? Yeah, we've got a go chair. They helped me load it into my car. We took it. I used it going all the way, every restroom. from here to Montana and going around, and it's freeing. So every piece of equipment that I've needed to borrow, I could borrow it for as long as I needed it, and then you give it back. It's a tremendous resource for people with ALS, because it gets pretty expensive if you have to buy everything. And then if you want to know what's going on with research, or if you want to know how do other people get dressed, what pieces of equipment do they use? Well, this is what some people do. This is what other people do. So there are just a plethora of a wealth of information for you, and the equipment and the emotional support. It's just mind-boggling that the agency is there, and they're just great people. Mike asked me, he said, what three blessings have we had? And I said, I've got to remember what I said exactly, but one was my faith in God is more real, obviously. It always is in a time like this. The value of family and friends. That has been just precious. A third thing, and I don't know if I told Mike, but I was going back over some of the blogs that I've written in the last year, and one of the things that I wrote and I've thought about many times is I truly believe that God gives each one of us a purpose and a plan for each of our lives. And I've always believed that my purpose, my mission, was to encourage and teach, coach people to take that next step, to be better than what they are, not to just accept the status quo. And at first, when I first got diagnosed, I thought, I don't have a purpose, because I saw my purpose as being in a classroom or before a group of people, because I'm shy and quiet. That, I always saw it that way, doing women's retreats or speaking before groups. And so I thought, oh, my time's over. And what I've learned is it's not over, it's just different. I still have that opportunity. And I'm doing it, I think, through my blog. I get a lot of feedback from people who say, oh, your blog really encouraged me. You're so strong. Well, I don't feel strong. I just feel like this is my life. This is my day. This is what I do. I don't feel like it's anything spectacular. It's just, you just live out life. We are all the sum of our parts. So all of those things that we've done all of our life come together when you have to face a challenge or a crisis. You can't just make up at the last minute. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You can't all of a sudden become a happy, positive person if you never have been. Now, I'm working on becoming a grouchy person. I think it's easier to go that way. I'm starting to do a good job at that. How does your faith, how does this affect your faith? And my response to her was, I've been preparing for this all my life, living out my faith since I was 14, when I believed that God came into my life. I get really good positive feedback from people, mainly because of my blogs, or they think, oh, you have such a super attitude. John, the video guy, he'll probably leave here today going, boy, that was a fun experience today. This lady is really awesome. But, and that's good, but I'm not brave. I'm not a martyr. I think what I do is live out my faith. And I don't have, when I was talking to my friend Jenny yesterday, she's gone through some hard things. I'm not super spiritual in that I can quote you scriptures and I'll use all the flowery Christian cliches. I'm not that kind of a person, but my faith is very deep and very strong. I have never, since the diagnosis, said, why God? Why me? I've never said that. My immediate response is, why not me? I'm no different than anybody else. I'm part of the life journey. Either I trust God or I don't trust God. It's it's not a two-way street. I don't play into it one day because it feels good, and then the next day when it doesn't feel good, go, well, damn you, God. I can't do that. My faith is deep, and it's real, and it's genuine, and it's not cliche. You're not gonna get that from me. So I think if I would want my grandsons to know anything, they would say, my grandmother was a woman of faith, even in the end. And I hope I can keep that faith even in the end. So please pray. Please pray for that. I can say that today. I can move and talk and wave my hands around, so I could say that. Who knows what I'd be like when I'm laying in bed and I can't breathe or swallow or talk, But for right now, I think that's what I would want people to say. She was a woman of faith, and that encouraged me in my own life. And there were two ladies, very professional, probably Trisha's age, dressed nice, and they were talking. They were washing their hands, finishing up their lipstick and that kind of stuff. So I go in the handicap stall, and I come out. And they're standing right in front of the sink. And the way the door is, I can't get to the sink to wash my hands, nor can I get out. And so then they say to me, can we ask you what you have while you're in your chair? Well, usually, you can tell. I'm not very shy about it, and I don't mind talking about it. But there was something I thought, you didn't even say hello, and you want to know the details of my life. I said, well, yeah, I've got ALS. Well, we've got something for you. And they were trying to sell me a product that they knew was going to cure me. And they're standing in front of the sink and in front of the door. Cliff started to get worried. I mean, and I'm it caught me off guard, because usually I'm pretty quick on my feet. And I'm thinking, is this happening? So finally, Cliff has asked the hostess to come check on me. And so then they go, oh yeah, we're sorry, we've kept her, and then they scurried out and left me all this material. So I get people are stupid. That's what Cliff's favorite saying. People are stupid. You're just stupid. What are you gonna do? So, and you hardly know their names. How do you spell your name? Heather. Okay, Heather, I'm stripping. Can we put that in there? I'll tell you. I told her today, I said, I'm going to write a book about caregivers. But then I thought, oh, they have a lot of stories they could tell as well. Going into other people's houses every time and not knowing what you're going to run into. And I'm thinking I'm going beyond the 5 years. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. I think my attitude's going to give me a little extra on the other side. So, yeah, I don't want to ramble. that I've been on the floor, on the editing floor. Cut that out. I take no drugs, unfortunately. I am thinking if it gets really bad, I'm thinking about a little pot here and there. Don't tell my Christian friends. They might be a little offended, but then they've never had ALS, so who knows? And my grandson said they could get me a brownie recipe, so I don't know. But I did write to somebody this morning, because I don't drink wine either. But I said, Leanne, I'm thinking maybe it's time a glass of wine. That should relieve some of my anxiety at night before I go to sleep. So, but what happened with the blog, the reason I started, am I just rambling on here? Yeah, I'm good. This is an opportunity to educate people about ALS, but also to talk about me, which is really important.